Okay, so Liquid Death, she obviously made an amazing intro of who we are, what we do, but I'll still try for maybe a few of you guys that don't know us, but maybe also to kind of recalibrate who we are. Yes, we are water, but really, what the hell is Liquid Death? Because it's water, and we're going to talk about the different things that we do, but not a lot of people think about us this way, but that's truly who we are. We are first an entertainment company, and we monetize through beverage. And that's very important for everything we do in marketing, in media. It's all about entertainment. So when we come up with a campaign, from the very top of the funnel all the way to the end, it's all about entertainment. But also, Erin was very nice to tell all of you what we do. It's not just water. Yes, we started with that white can that you see on the left, which is still water. But we went into 3 categories. So spring water, but also we went after that into healthy sodas. So the killer cola, the different variants, but healthy, based on water. And then also tea. People don't know, but we're actually the #1 tea on Amazon. So we're selling a lot of teas. So now let's talk media. There is, and I talk a lot about this. I'm very passionate about this. I'm obsessed about this. I'm literally, I don't know if some of you were at the Amazon upfront, but they start making fun about the full funnel. I'm all about the full funnel. This is something that I think is extremely powerful, but in order to do a full funnel, you need to have your top of the funnel. And I see so many folks that are just focused on the bottom of the funnel, on the conversion. But if you don't have your top of the funnel, you have nobody to convert. So let's talk about our top of the funnel. Again, Erin mentioned some very important top of the funnel that we did recently. I'll just play a few of them so we can just start with that top of the funnel and then explain how we take that virality around top of the funnel all the way down to conversion. So the first one is, yes, this big stage moment, Super Bowl, this is what we did. So let's see what. So that was the Super Bowl. 137 million people watched this. We can talk all day long about the Super Bowl. That was just getting that ref to drink on the job was a challenge. The NFL didn't like that too much. We got it clear by the NFL 48 hours before the Super Bowl. It went live. We got super lucky. People that buy, I'm sure a lot of media here, we bought a floating Super Bowl, and we find ourselves at peak of viewership. Right after Jesus. I don't know if you watch. We find ourselves right after Jesus. And that created massive virality because people was like, they turned Jesus into drinking water. That was amazing. So not only 137 million watched it during the Super Bowl, but we got about almost 4 billion earned media. So very strong top of funnel. Another one, where linear, now let's go into social. And Erin mentioned that one, but let's watch it because that one was a very viral moment.
Kylie, Kelsey, are you drinking?
I've had so many of these today. I wish they would make a huge keg. Liquid Death is taking my favorite water from actual mountains and putting it in a limited edition keg. Drink up. Why, yes, officer, I have been drinking. For 2.
So, again, massive awareness here. Also, and we're going to talk about this, very different audience here. An audience that actually buys our product, but an audience that we haven't talked to as much. And that was just phenomenal. I mean, social, 12 million views across platform, and again, another 3.2 billion heard, because what probably people don't realize when those viral moment happens, we get picked up for whatever reason by local news. Local news picks up those moments and talks about it, 3-minute segments on it, across the country, and it's, again, can't get any better in terms of top of funnel. I promise I'll switch from top of the funnel. I'm going to go down the funnel. But one more. Actually, that one, no video, but Erin talked about this. This is a great way for us to get in front of folks. That's through our partnership with Live Nation. We're the official water of all their venues and festivals, and we get people drinking it at the events. We have artists drinking it. It's awesome. Like, you cannot get any better. You know, people drinking it, now being exposed to that product and that brand. Actually, better than a Super Bowl ad or better than a Kylie Kelsey. Here, you experience this. You know, you realize it's water. You realize it's not a beer, because I was mentioning that to someone else. We have over 50% of brand awareness at Liquid Death, but at half of it thinks we're beer or energy, because that's how we designed it. And I would pick first to be 50% awareness and then work my way through explaining that it's water than the other way around. But we still have to fight this now, right? Explain that we're water. So 25 million people a year get in front of that, in front of our brand at Live Nation events and venues. So that's the top of the funnel. And we do those campaigns all year long. We just dropped one a couple days ago. Don't know if you watched it, the 10th of Tony Hawk, because our healthy beverage, our 10th of sugar out of any other soda. So we hired just the 10th of Tony Hawk to talk about it, which is basically just got his head to talk about it. So you can watch, it's fun. But we do that all year long. This is for us peak season happening, so we are going to see a lot of us over the next 6 months. But once you have your top of the funnel, what do you do? There are a lot of people that do top of funnel. And I think what makes the difference between having massive top of funnel and have massive growth is by doing this. It's understand, measure, and scale your path to purchase. I'm talking a lot about full funnel. I talk a lot of path to purchase. And we have a lot of different tools out there to really understand what your path to purchase is. And just quick explanation of what I mean by path to purchase is understanding what you get in front of, where, how many times, that leads to a conversion, right? So yes, you have your top of funnel, you watch the Super Bowl, you watch Kelly, it's 2 impressions there, maybe you see it twice on TV, 3 impressions there, but then where else I'm gonna get in front of you before you go and swipe your credit card either on a .com or at a store? So this is what really matters to get from virality to conversion. So what are we working with when you have this viral moment, when you have that much earned media? First, expose audience. And again, I'm sure most of you in the room are dealing with all the retail media networks, and one thing that is very, very strong and getting better and better and better is what you can do with expose audience. And what I mean by expose audience is people that have seen Kylie on Instagram, that have watched the Super Bowl on TV, that have actually swiped their credit card at a Live Nation concert. Well, that audience, I'm sure you all know, can be moved around and can be pushed to all the retail media platform, can be pushed to all the social media platform, can be pushed to all the CTV platform. So now you have a set of folks that have seen you and probably still don't know quite who you are, but they've seen you in an environment where they're like, oh, you caught their attention. So working with your exposed audience at Liquid Death is critical, and I would assume is critical for most CPG brands. The other thing that we work with, which comes from virality, is retailer branded search. I cannot express how this is important and how I think most brands don't understand that actually you have so much incrementality from branded search. most folks think that branded search is non-incremental because people know the brand. Well, guess what? When you have massive top of the funnel with massive new to brand in that top of the funnel, they remember Liquid Death or they remember Death Water, whatever name they're going to make up with the word death. That's the one thing that they remembered. Now they search, but they still don't know who you are. So people say, hey, I'm not really spending too much on branded search because it's not that incremental. So damn wrong, right? For us, we spend a lot of time. So we work with our exposed audience. We work with branded search to push them down the funnel. And we are going to talk more about it, how we do it. The other metrics, and by the way, all those things are metrics that we measure, that I measure all the time, that I look on a daily basis. The next one is glance views. And I say glance view on and offline. What is a glance views? It's basically views on your PDP or views at the store when you walk by the shelf. Those views are so good because now they've seen your product. Not only they heard about the brand, now they've seen the product. So what do you do with your glance views? You retarget those folks. This is such a great audience, again, to get in front over and over and over. Now they've seen the benefits of the product, most likely through the bullet points. They've seen the price. Maybe there was a TPR going on at the store. They see there was a discount, so it's not that expensive that they thought. There's so many things that happen from getting in front of the product and the price and the description that I measure. I have this dashboard where I look cross retailers, branded search volume, glance views volume. That tells me if my top of the funnel is working, and that tells me if my top of the funnel is moving down. The other big one for us is organic UGC on social. Drink on the job. You can only imagine, I don't even quite remember, but I think the week following the Super Bowl, I think we got on about 40,000 UGC videos created of people drinking on the job. I was about to put some, but it was like, it's going to take us 45 minutes to go through all of this. But that was awesome. Just people picking it up, creating more content. Now, again, this is awesome. This is out there. This is your top of the funnel. But guess what? You can now put media behind that UGC. And putting media behind that UGC and people that engage with that now become an exposed audience. So again, all of that translates back into what I would call the next step, which is consideration. Right? It's like, oh, okay, it's water. Oh, okay, it costs that much. Oh, here are the benefits. Oh, it's healthy. Why don't I buy? So this is what we are working with. Now, what do we do with this? I started to talk a little bit about it, but carving that path to purchase. So how do you carve it? How do you build that path to purchase? I mentioned it. Take your exposed audience, distribute it cross-platform. There are a lot of tech out there that lets you do that in a very, very efficient way. So make sure you push it to your Amazon DSP. Let's make sure you push it to your Walmart Connect. Let's make sure you push it to your Roundel instance. Like you go on and your social. But that's going to be that audience that now from the virality go to in front of them with a different message. Now it's like for us, you may have seen it out there. We use a lot. You won't believe it's not soda, right? So we do that viral moment, which doesn't really communicate anything besides we're a crazy brand, and then goes into, well, you won't believe it's not soda. It's healthy, and it tastes good. So distributed exposed audience. Second, and we'll talk about not to do, but leverage your retail media network for consideration. This is not a place to do other things but consideration and conversion. So I see out there, probably spending way too much time on LinkedIn, but people talking about retail media network is no incremental. Retail media network is a tax. This is crap. This is not a tax. Yes, it's a tax. They want you to spend, but guess what? You should. You should just spend properly, but you can make someone that's been aware of the brand to convert on a retail media network because this is where the product is to be purchased. So if you do it right, you can get people to convert. Next, you have your audience, you have the different messages, and here we can talk for a long time about this. But let's start actually from the bottom, the note that I made at the bottom. Do not let the platform decide what you should be serving, where, and to whom. It is so critical that you decide what you put in front of each audience and where and how often. And that's how you have to measure your path to purchase, so you know what works and what doesn't work. But for example, I'll take the example of Amazon. I've been Amazon brainwashed about the last 7 days. But on the Amazon side, you have so many placements to put your ads, right? From a search standpoint, from a DSP on-site standpoint, you can be sponsored brand, you can be sponsored product, you can be, different banners on the PDP. Well, decide where it really matters. I can tell you, for us, it's really good to put our ads right next to the buy box to another healthy soda brand that costs twice our price. So when you show up at $15 versus $30, and you are actually in front of an audience that already knows you, that converts really, really well. But if you just put your ad on Amazon and let them basically decide where you show up, very unlikely, or maybe after a couple $1 million, they're going to figure out that that's where you should be. So control, and you can control where you show up. You can adjust your bids based on placement. So control where you show up, decide where you show up, decide in front of which audience you want to show up, and then frequency cap. That's why the retail media networks are so much better than a social platform, because social platform, it's almost impossible to frequency cap anything. Zuckerberg just wants you to burn cash, and that's it. So on retail, you can cap at 3, 5, 10, and you can understand what is your performance based on the frequency. So do that. I feel like this is what you have to do. But no, do whatever you want, but at least try to make it work. What we don't do, that's also was a very viral campaign. Pit diaper. You should not pee your pants when you're at a concert. So, what we don't do? Well, we don't do what Zuckerberg wants us to do. And that guy is really pissing me off. He just turned off a freaking ad account last weekend, so I'm even more pissed off at Zuckerberg. But anyway, what you don't want to do that he wants you to do. I hear brands, agencies, all the time talking about just put as many creatives as you want. And you know what? AI will create 200 versions of it, put it out there, and hope for the best. And maybe one will work. Oh, but it will work for 3 days. That's okay. You put another 200 after that, and you might get another one that works. This is just the worst. Like, who thought that would be a good idea, right? So we do not do that. We are very careful on social when we come with paid to really get in front of the right audience and to not throw in those ASC campaigns and hope that some creatives are going to work. We have a very specific set of creatives. We measure not necessarily conversions, because I'm not expecting to convert from social. Again, some brands, some DTC brands, remember, we're not DTC at all. I should have mentioned really that up front. We're only selling through retail. So we're not selling through our website. But I'm not expecting social to convert. So it's all about exposure. It's all about frequency of the ad that you get in front of. So that's one thing that we definitely don't do. The second thing, we don't leverage retail media network for awareness. Again, do you think really that Rondell is going to give you awareness for your brand? Hell no, right? So you leverage it to get people to buy your product. But one thing that they have that you can leverage for top of funnel is their audience. Rondell is the bad example. They are just 20 years behind. I hope there is nobody from Target here. But you can get their audience. Let's say for us, I can find people that are buying, for example, at Walmart, mineral water, spring water, and bring that audience up to CTV. So now I'm not just going fully broad on CTV. I go against people that are buying at Walmart water. And now I can go from CTV exposed audience back onto Walmart Connect to, again, get in front of the audience that saw our ad on CTV, but I know that they are also buyer for water at Walmart. So we do not leverage for awareness, but we leverage their audience for awareness. We don't look at ROAS. I know, ROAS, but no, you don't. You look at ROAS with new to brand, right? And that's, we can go down that rabbit hole for another few hours too, around incrementality. But for me, we don't yet quite go deep into the ROAS. We really go at ROAS plus new to brand. So I understand what is my return on ad spend, but I understand also my percentage of new to brand. Because at the stage we're at, what really matters to us is to get in front of new people, right? I don't need to add people to buy more. I need to get new people in. And that's why ROAS on its own doesn't matter to me, but ROAS with new to brand is really what matters. And I think really matters for pretty much any brand out there. And then, last but not least, is we do not launch a campaign without an active path to purchase. So when you see Kylie Kelsey, when you see Tony Hawk, when you see any of them killing the clowns with Mary Ruth, we have everything ready. By the time it dropped, we are ready to move that audience around the next day. We have all our campaigns lined up across all retail media and social. We usually have some point of sale end caps in place, really repeating what we've said on that top of funnel. So we do not launch just like, hey, let's hope it gets viral, and if it gets viral, we'll figure it out. No, we have everything lined up, ready to go as soon as we drop that video. I hope it was helpful, and I don't know if we open up to questions, but that's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Benoit, thank you so much for kicking us off this morning. All right, we are going to open it up to the question and audience portion. If no one asks questions, I will call on people randomly. So that will also be fun. Who has questions? Well, of course, you guys are all the way over the side. John, you want to hit them on the other side?
So as you ask questions over the next couple of days, just let us know who you are and where you're from, please.
Hi, my name's Lanessa. I'm with the Planters brand. And I was just curious, and it's totally okay if you don't want to name any specific companies, but you mentioned that you have a dashboard that you can track all the stuff on that you're looking at daily. And I was just curious if that, or if there was another piece of tech that you use to monitor this stuff, if something has been the most helpful for you.
Yeah, that's a good question. We ended up building a lot ourselves, but we get obviously all data from all retailers that we push into, not get too technical, into a BigQuery instance. So we push all Amazon. We are 1P with Amazon, so Amazon Vendor Central. We pull all the Kroger, all the scan cell data from Circana. So we pull all of that in. And we also have on the side AMC with Amazon as a clean room where we really look at that path to purchase. A platform that I've been using a ton, or a couple of platforms I've been using a ton, but Stackline has been super helpful to us to really understand what's happening. In terms of moving audience around, LiveRamp has been great, but also on the retail media side, we do a lot with the Trade Desk or the Amazon DSP that is attached to AMC. So there is a lot in that ecosystem, but at the end of the day, for metrics and dashboard, it's a lot of pulling data in. And then on top of that BigQuery instance, we build just a Looker dashboard on top.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Moya. I'm at R3 Media Sense, so we're a marketing consultancy. I had a question, and you may have partially answered it about your exposed audience. Do you own that data? And maybe it's part of your dashboard you were just mentioning. And then do you give that to an agency to come up with audiences and creative? So how does that process work?
Good question. Exposed audience equal first-party data for everybody. So if someone tells you something different, it's not right. You own exposed audience. First-party data should get back to you. So that's the first question. Second question around agencies. No, we manage it all in-house. And then we leverage different pipes to push that audience across the different platforms. But we do most of the work. Obviously, if we want to amplify that, for example, Circana does a lot of work on the audience side that we leverage. And then all the retailers as well do match, for example. So just recently did something with 7-Eleven where they match our exposed audience from the Super Bowl with their buyer audience. they overlap it, and then we take that audience and then follow that audience on Gulp. So we do those kind of things.
Hi, Alexa Risen, Constellation Brands. What is your advice for brands that are heavily investing in upper funnel and how to get them into more of a full funnel approach?
So the one that are not investing to get them into invest in full funnel? Well, I would assume if they are not investing in full funnel, it's most likely because they are mostly bottom of the funnel. I haven't seen too many brands that are just upper funnel. So what I'm usually showing them, which I think most brands just in the lower funnel side of things see their cost of acquisition going up, right? That's the biggest symptom of you're not full funnel is your cost of acquisition goes up. And you can blame it on, oh, my creatives are not working anymore. Oh, I'm not targeting well enough. No, it's because nothing comes from the top. So usually it's like you have to deploy more upper funnel in order to have your conversion, your cost of conversion lower. But then I get the questions like, yeah, but how do you measure this? Like, I don't have a return to give to my CFO. So that's the biggest, I think, challenge with this, with full funnel, is the CFO, that guy. And in order to get to that guy, you have to go in. How I approach it with them is I'm looking at a TROAS for my entire media spend. Never work your CFO at the channel level. If you start opening this is game over. Because he's going to want to have the proper ROAS per campaign, per channel. It's like, why Meta is converting so much better than Target? Yeah, but it's not that how that works. You need to have it all together in order to work. So usually it's like how much you spend, how much we made. Total, not just also attributed sales, because we all know that there are a lot of sales that are non-attributed but came from that full funnel approach. So you look at your total revenue and you look at your total spend. Now you decide what is your benchmark, 10% of your gross revenue, 15%, 20%, 30%. Like, Red Bull is at 35%. We're not there, but this is then the CFO can decide that, right? Because of all the different things in the P&L that he cares about. But then once you have decided that I'm going to spend 20% of my gross revenue, now you leave me alone. So that's how I would recommend. Not all CFO like this, but most of them don't.
Hi, I'm Courtney from Bandits and Friends, which is a creative agency. I know you guys do everything in-house, but for creative agencies or creative teams, what do you wish we knew more about or did better when it comes to media inputs?
Just media or just creative, or both? I would say on the creative side, for me, stop worrying about your loyal customers. They are loyal already. And stop trying to get more loyal. There's such a certain amount that are going to be loyal. Then I spend a lot of time thinking of what I call the light buyers. Are you going to get in front of those light buyers from a creative standpoint? Right? So I could just go with punk rock guys all year long. That's not going to help me. Right? So I need to go with Callie. she's probably kind of what you would expect because she's that, dropping F-bombs all the time. But she's not the one that we were thinking about before, now we do. So from a creative standpoint, go after your non-loyal customers. From a media standpoint, I will double down on this. Spend all your money. And I'm talking about brands that are probably at our scale. I want to talk for all scales. Coke is a different story than also just emerging brand that is at $5 million of revenue. But I would say really focus on your new to brand. Don't spend dollars to try to get from 3 sales to 4 sales to 5 sales. Like, yes, you can spend probably more like life cycle efforts on that, but not media dollars on that. But media dollars to get the first purchase and media dollars to get from first to second and third. After that, push that to life cycle and don't worry. So when I see all those lapse campaigns, that shit drives me crazy.
We got one more right here.
Hello, my name is Crystal Ivy. I am with the Honey Pot company, a feminine wellness brand. So I think we're probably similar in terms of where our stage of growth is. So we are getting ready for our first campaign that will focus on awareness building. So top of funnel, as you can imagine, we've done a lot lower funnel. But what advice would you give just as we get ready for this awareness driving and building campaign of like to focus on to make sure that we're getting right to unlock other things?
Don't try to do too much. You cannot just make people aware and then educate. Like it's very, very difficult. Like the one that we just dropped with Tony Hawk was trying to do that, and we stay very light because it's very difficult to do both awareness and education. So your goal here should just be that they remember the brand name. They may not sure what it is yet, but remember the name. So that will be my number one advice. And then the number two advice is what I just talked about, is make sure that you have everything lined up post or as soon as the campaign drops. It cannot just be your awareness campaign. Because remember, if you get someone aware, seen the ad once, twice, if you don't push them down the funnel within the next few days, this is just game over, right? You have to restart the whole journey. So make sure that you have all the campaigns ready to get that exposed audience into it. Make sure you can retarget them. Make sure you have all your .com ready to retarget off of PDPs, like all of that. So don't just go, oh, I've done my awareness campaign for the year. Now let me go down the funnel. No, let's make sure everything is ready.
We have time for one more. Right over here, Benoit.
So I'm Kristen Rasmussen. I work at Premier Protein in integrated marketing. And you talked about how when you launch a campaign, having the path to purchase sort of mapped out, ready to go, including in-store, having end caps, and some, like in-store activation. How does the team plan for capitalizing on some of these viral moments like Kylie Kelsey, but also line it up with retail in-store calendars that are set, months in advance? It's impressive.
It's not easy, especially Kylie Kelsey, where it kind of happened last minute, because we're not expecting to have her being pregnant right when we needed her to be pregnant. So it's a lot of planning, a ton of planning, and a great field marketing team that can execute in stores and go in stores and put signage. So you cannot always execute with a TPR, with a discount or an offer at that time, but you can definitely go in stores to have Kylie on signage or to have Tony Hawk on signage. So it goes all the way also to negotiation with the talent, right? Making sure the talent will let us use not only for all the different media assets, but also for all the in-store assets. So it's a ton of planning ahead of time, and trying to get in stores as quickly as we can. Obviously, usually we have a couple months before we know that the campaign is going to drop, so we have a couple months to execute in store. And if we can do the in stores, then we just leverage the .com. And there is a great way to get from the .com to then push back into the store through the app, through all the different vehicles that even if it's not yet the face of Cali is not in stores, you can still get them to buy.
Benoit, thank you so much for kicking us off this morning.
Thank you, guys.